what should the Detroit Pistons do in the off-season here? After all that tanking, they slid down to the fifth pick in the NBA draft. What a disaster, huh? That didn't work, right? And hey, look, I guess only one team can get the number one pick, and Wembanyama is not coming to the Pistons. And so they need to now decide where to go. They've got a roster full of underachieving power forwards and centers. It was an interesting signing of obviously James Wiseman to come along with Marvin Bagley Jr. Yeah, I don't know. Like if you just added up your talent on the high lottery picks you got, the Pistons are probably out up there, right? They've sort of got
Yeah.
dragged all these high lottery picks into their roster and giving them a look, and none of them are really shaking out in that sort of sense. On the other hand, they've got. And I think the first thing they need to sort of make a decision here is that they've got 3 point guards. Yeah, Cade Cunningham, obviously, number one pick there that obviously lost last year, most of it to injury. And probably looks like the best option out of the lot. Jaden Ivey's probably still a bit unproven. Who knows? He could probably turn into a serviceable guard that's got a high ceiling in that sort of sense. And then you got Killian Hayes as well. Yeah, obviously another lottery pick from I think 3 years ago now. So that it's just a real logjam there. So I think they need to make a decision there. I need to put one of those players probably on the board, sorry, on the trade block. That's probably Killian Hayes. I think he could probably go to another team that really just gives him sort of a fresh start and can put up some, sort of we can see sort of what sort of player he can be in that sort of sense. Um, the last step here, I think that they should have done last year, okay, is that they should have traded Bogdanovich. Yeah, last year he had a real hot year. And I think as if you're Pistons front office right now, you're banking hopefully he'll have another hot start. Yeah, he obviously was shut down at the end of the year because of injury, and then they didn't opt to bring him back the last few weeks anyway because they were not in contention, so it made sense, I guess, in that sense. Um, but um, but when he was peaking and probably around the trade deadline, effectively at that point, he was averaging about 18 points a game. They should have shopped him for something at that point. Okay, and I think that's what they probably need to look at again this year, that when they get him on the floor, around January sort of point, if he's hopefully again putting up similar numbers to last year, what team out there that's sort of, looking to make a push and add another shooter, onto the roster that they can, accommodate even for a few picks or maybe hell, I'm going to say there's another lottery prospect that busted at their current team, maybe come to the Pistons, but they have no need for him. They have no need for him. They got to look for what they can get for him at the highest selling point. That's the key, at the highest selling point. All right, it'd be a disaster for him to sort of get injured in the first sort of, first month or so and then get shut down again. And then suddenly he's got very little trade value in that sort of aspect. And I guess there's a few prospects here that I looked at, and I mentioned Killian Hayes. Obviously, I put him on the trade block here, and I'm saying send him to the Orlando Magic. We'll take Killian Hayes. Hey, we'll have a look at him. All right, I know we got a few guards already, point guards there, but we'll look at Killian Hayes, yeah, and we're gonna send, and I hate to say, it just pains me to say this, but look, I'm working from a Detroit Pistons perspective here. I'm saying take Bol Bol. So I've got Cole Anthony and Bol Bol going to the Pistons here. And hey, I think Bol Bol straight away over the current centers they got on their lineup as a young prospect is literally head and shoulders above them. And I think he would obviously be in line for minutes at the Pistons. They're at a different phase, obviously, to the Magic and where we're at this point. Okay. And, hey, we saw Bol Bol when he gets minutes that he can potentially produce. And I think, Pistons could lean in that direction.
So a lot of good points that you've brought up. Obviously, Detroit's interesting. They've got a little bit of logjam at the guard, and then they have a logjam at the power forward slash center position. So um, I think we might be in alignment, not exactly on how to do it, but I think we're in alignment of a couple of things. So um, obviously, with the draft pick there, I would have them taking Cam Whitmore. So I think a lot of the teams in the draft after Wembanyama and Scoot, it's wings. It's versatile wings. It's your 6'6" to 6'8" or 6'9" wing players who can shoot and kind of play make a little bit. And I think that Detroit wouldn't be amiss to take someone like that. Picking at the fifth spot, really they're hoping on the potential. I think take that wing, kind of lock that up. And then obviously they probably extend Wiseman. You feel a certain way about Wiseman or Bagley or whatever it is, but they've taken two number two picks from other teams and trying to give them a bit of a resurgence. And Wiseman came there and gave them some good minutes. And I think out of the two, considering that you're only locked into, a relatively decent contract of 10 to 15 million a season, I think it's okay to bank one of them up and try to pair them with Cade because irrelevant of how you feel about Cade, um, he's having some injury things that is it tanking related or is it health related? It's always very difficult with players like that because, Shea was magically injured one season and then had a breakout season the next one. So, there's always some interesting things that happen with these teams. And then obviously, we need someone to steer the ship and we need someone to kind of drive this a little bit. And I would say that Monty Williams is a coach that I think they could seriously consider because Monty Williams may or may not have been a big beneficiary of Chris Paul addition from Phoenix because he was there prior to Phoenix's playoff runs. And he was a real good motivator for young players. He pushed them towards, I guess, the playoff picture. And what if he could do the same thing in Detroit, where over the next couple of seasons, he really builds these guys up, gets us to buy into a little bit of a young man's culture. And then Detroit in 2 or 3 years' time can really make a significant signing for a vet or two and take that next step. Now, the reason why I'm adding a fourth in this option is because it's a team that, it's a move by a different team that's affected on this team. So you said Bogdanovich has impact, and I agree with that. I think he does have impact, and we acknowledge that there's a bit of a logjam. So Marvin Bagley and Bogdanovich are actually going to head off to the Indiana Pacers for Miles Turner of all players. Miles Turner being only 26 years old and on a very hefty $35 million over the next 3 years, as in per year, sorry. Him and Wiseman going to lock down the center. Obviously, Miles is a stretch big, so that helps a little bit to prevent them playing exactly the same position and puts them on that youth timeline. So if Miles Turner pans out, that's great. And if he doesn't, you can flip him in about 2 years for something else. So to recap, Whitmore as your wing pickup, keep Wiseman, obviously, and then get rid of Bagley and Bogdanovich for Miles Turner so that you're really cementing that front court and see if Monty Williams wants to come to Detroit. What do you think?
Why would Monty Williams want to come to Detroit? I don't know. Maybe he's got family there or friends. I don't know. Who knows? Okay, but I just don't. I like the pick as a fit. I think 20 teams out there would probably go, hey, I wouldn't mind Monty Williams as a coach. Okay, and obviously, but I don't see why Monty Williams would come to Detroit since there are better openings available that I think his name is and should be and would be considered in the running for as well. So yeah, look, they definitely do need a head coach that sort of can develop the young talent here. And it feels like probably in a longer term prospect, like it's like Will Hardy when he went to the Jazz and they're sort of somewhat rebuilding too, but then they won a lot of games this year as well. But it's that sort of, you give that young talented coach an opportunity probably in Detroit to grow with the team. And it's probably one of the assistants maybe that's out there. I'm not going to name any names. I don't know enough about them to sort of make a quality pick here. But I guess it's probably one of them that you're looking for. I guess you could think back to like Brad Stevens when he got his run at the Celtics, and he was obviously coming just out of college at that point, and he was a fairly young coach at that stage, and he sort of grew with the team. He sort of grew with the team, and I don't know. I feel that would probably be a better pick as coach for the Pistons.
This is Two Guys With Spare Time. I'm Faz, this is Nick. You're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist in giving our video a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.